Hey guys, welcome to the Nick Bahe YouTube page. You know what you need to do. You need to subscribe, you need to ring the bell, you need to like the page, you need to leave a comment. I appreciate you. All right, here we are, Ruud. Now, don't you start laughing out the Antonio Gates on me, all right? Don't you do that. Don't do that to me out the gates.
We've had some jokes. We've had
jokes before we've turned on the mics. Some not appropriate, some
now
others.
It's time to get serious.
Now we're going to get serious. 34-3, Nebraska covered. Air 5. You want a real 5?
No,
Let's do the real 5. Okay.
Why are we hiding?
I don't know why we're doing that. Nebraska covered. I don't even know where to begin with this game. Can we do here's what I thought. Can we do I'm going to do two versions to the start of this recap pod, okay? Okay. I'm going to do the honest, real one. In the words of Lionel Hutz, there's the truth and the truth. So this is the honest one we're probably not supposed to talk about.
Yeah.
And then we'll do the Kool-Aid one.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
This is the honest, real one. And again, this is probably what you're not supposed to say at the beginning of a game recap pod to really suck people in and keep them to stay tuned. It feels silly and like a waste of time to even get into specific plays of that game.
At this point, yeah.
It feels like what I could normally say, and what I'll say shortly when we go the Kool-Aid route is man, you know what, man? How past that runs, man, and that Valentino's and that Amigos, and oh my God. If Chubba didn't get hurt on that drive when they were down 14-0 and they were in the red zone, stop.
No.
Nebraska had no chance to win that game, okay? You know what you're a nature guy. That game felt like watching a lion play with its food. You ever see when a lion gets a baby gazelle and it's hasn't really killed it yet, but it's that gazelle starts to kind of walk away and it's get back here. The gazelle's still alive. You're oh God, look, it's still alive. But at any moment, Mufasa is gonna.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. That was that game.
Yeah. Because I think if you look at the defensive performance, you could have said not great, but not terrible.
Yeah.
The offense was terrible, and I think the ceiling would have been okay, not great.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
There was probably not a ceiling with Chubba for an entire game that it was going to be great. I mean, he had some scrambles in the first quarter that got the drives going, but the thought that he was gonna
for 4 quarters
do something with the ball for 4 quarters. I mean, he looked probably his best up to that point.
Isn't that sad? I thought the same thing, and it's he still was not
but
good.
But he almost threw about 2 interceptions
right.
In the amount of a quarter.
He needs to work on it. Ended up getting him hurt. How to slide. Dude, he's caught in between sliding and not, and he got hurt.
Yeah, and
but you're right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah. No, correct. But that's just, I think, part of that slide in injury. I mean, that's unfortunate. You got to feel for the kid. He tore his knee up. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
I'm guessing he tore his knee up. It was either an
ankle or knee. I couldn't tell.
But it's also it looks like a guy that's still not comfortable. He's just he's running out there with his hair on fire, which is good, but then it's you have to make decisions too. And
yes,
that was almost just he was in between making a decision, didn't know how to do it.
Because didn't it feel to stick with the honest part of this, didn't it kind of feel and maybe I'm wrong, it seemed like Michigan wasn't even I don't want to say it didn't seem like they weren't trying, but it never even seemed that's why the lion playing with the food thing is an analogy. I think Harbaugh walked into that game, and I think the whole team did too. Because you know it as a player, within the first couple possessions, especially in football, you feel your opponent and you're these fucking guys, they don't got it. Yeah. I think Harbaugh kind of felt he saw the weather, he saw the opponent, and was just kind of the only way we lose this game is if we completely self-destruct and lose this game.
Yeah, I don't think I don't know if it's playing around. I don't think people play around. I don't think that's the right. I mean, that's fun for this analogy,
right? Because
it felt like there was no chance for them to lose, right? But I don't think Michigan really saw it there. I think Michigan just thought, we can win being as conservative as we can possibly be, which is, I think, what you would always want to do if you could. If you
True,
could
good
just,
call. Yeah.
If you could just say,
hand it off and win 34-3.
What if we handed it? I don't know how many times they ran the ball.
Yeah.
It felt like they threw 10 times in the whole game. And they didn't do well throwing the ball.
No, McCarthy.
Yeah. So I mean, let's pull up the. I'm gonna pull up the.
Yeah, so McCarthy threw the ball. So they threw 20 passes. They're back up through 3. Yeah. But McCarthy threw 17 times and they ran the ball 49 times.
40. Okay, so 49 runs, and it felt like to me it was like they knew if all we just do is keep handing the ball off, especially with when they saw our offense going to just like to unbelievably bad levels. You don't have to even take a Nick.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it just kind of felt like they were like,
But I don't know if that's playing around.
Yeah, maybe that's not the right way to put it.
It's just a conservative approach to, we know we can win doing this. Why would we take any sort of chance?
Right. Okay. The Kool-Aid Open. And, it's Kool-Aid-ish, but this is all facts. Nebraska's defense got stops early in that game. They gave up that touchdown early on Michigan's first drive. By the way, Nebraska got Michigan to 4th and 2 on that first drive and couldn't get off the field. Mm-hmm. I feel like Blake Corum could have tripped and gotten 3 yards. He couldn't help but get 3 or 4 yards a pop. But you had him 4th down on the first drive. But then Nebraska down 7-0. The defense got 2 straight stops where they got forced a 3 and out and then a 4 and out.
Yeah.
So the Nebraska offense had the ball 3 times, down 7-0, and had 3 straight 3 and outs.
It's actually kind of similar to Minnesota. I mean, we got off to a good start on offense against Minnesota, but it was similar that in the way that Michigan continued to pound and run the ball. Yep. They never had big plays necessarily. So Nebraska's defense, as much as they weren't really good, they also didn't give up big plays. They made them earn it slowly and kind of methodically, which is okay. It's not hurrah, but this is where you got to play football on both sides of the ball. You can't just say we're going to win this game and not score points. We couldn't. I mean, Purdy was out, and we got 3 out of that drive, right?
Yep. That's the other one. Michigan finally scored to make it 14-0, and I talked about it in the honest one of Nebraska's driving down 14-0. Chuba scrambles, gets the ball to the 15-yard line, and that's when he got hurt. And then Logan Smothers comes in, and the drive goes to crap. And in fact, on 3rd down, they fumble the snap, and so it's you don't even you really stumble and you settle for a field goal. So, maybe Nebraska scores there. It's 14-7. You feel okay about yourself. Oh, by the way, Michigan's final drive of the half, Nebraska had Michigan at 3rd and 9 with 2:27 left in the second quarter. And the Michigan wide receiver caught the ball behind the sticks, and Nebraska whiffed twice, and he gets a first down. So, I'm not saying the idea that Logan Smothers was going to come on the field and lead a charge, but they could have gotten off the field and saved 3 points. And maybe there's a version of that game where it's 14-7 going into halftime, and you're like, well, look at this. Instead, it's 17-3.
And it's a game, right? I mean, the whole thing is just you want it to be a game. I mean, I think it is we maybe do it too much, but I actually like looking at those little
the little moments,
the little inflection points in the game that go one way or another. I always like to look at those just because it helps you understand football more, and how important those moments are. So I think it's good to do it. I think the reality is, if we're keeping to the honest version is, without Casey Thompson, our offense doesn't go. Period. And you cannot win games if your offense doesn't go at all.
Yes.
And so that's sort of where we're at, and that is now a low of a low almost. Well, I think of the years we've been doing this, we've always had Adrian Martinez or Casey Thompson playing. So we're sometimes real bad on defense, and sometimes our offense gets stuck. But you always think you have a chance if you have those guys running your offense. And I think it was not until we basically had the Purdy Smothers thing where it feels like, oh, we don't have a chance.
Well, that's so okay. So now we'll bounce around here. That was the honest and the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Sorry. So think about this now, because what you're getting at. Think about this. So since Casey Thompson got hurt halfway through the second quarter of the Illinois game, Nebraska has played 10 and a half quarters of football. They've scored 1 touchdown. Think about that. That is 2 full games and a half.
2.5 games.
And they've scored 1 touchdown.
That's so bad.
That is... I can't even... I could think of a bunch of descriptive terms and way to put it. It is unbelievably bad. Of all the bad, from Zach Lee and that crew in 2009 to moments where you've seen some bad offenses over the course of the last 20 years, I'm not so sure this isn't the worst 10 and a half quarters of offensive football that Nebraska has played as a program. And I mean, you got to...
I mean, I'm going back to...
Even like think Joe Daly
in the 04 Callahan. I mean, we had Corey Ross at I-back, but I mean, we couldn't throw. I mean, that was the... Like, we couldn't throw the ball in a West Coast offense.
Yes.
And... That's where I feel like there were, but our defense was probably better that year.
Yes.
But man, I think that's what happens though. It's like when you truly can't even dream about scoring points, it gets really, really, really hard to win football.
I got to be honest, and I'll be real forthcoming with what's going on in my noggin during these games. When Nebraska starts a drive, I'm not even thinking about points. I'm thinking, can you get like 1 or 2 first downs, hold on to the ball, chew some clock, and give the defense a break? I'm not even thinking about points when they're starting a drive right now.
It's funny. I feel the exact same way. I'm not thinking about anything other than, can you hold on to the ball?
It's so bad.
For the defense for a few minutes, just so we just can gather ourselves and try not to like get blown out right away. Like I'm trying to just keep us in the game is all I'm thinking of by holding the ball.
So it's not even, I can't even say like, man, Nebraska can't even dream of scoring points. Like at this point, I'm like, Nebraska can't dream of a 4-minute drive that ends in a punt.
Yeah. Like even the strategy of, can we hold the ball longer than them to just stay in every game? Like we can't do that right now. We can't do that. No. Let alone score. Can we just find a way to hold the ball?
Again, I'm going to repeat it. Nebraska's offense, 10 and a half quarters. They've scored 1 touchdown. And it was that opening drive against Minnesota. Other than that, oh boy. I'm in disbelief at how unprepared and poor the backup quarterbacks have been and looked. Like we'd said, I actually thought Chuba played better, but that's not saying a whole lot. I didn't think Smothers really did much. And I will say this, like after seeing both guys play, I can't disingenuously turn on these microphones and muster up some emotion of like, how could you start Chuba again over Smothers? I think the reality is you saw them both and you're like...
Yeah, I think we were talking a lot about how we thought Smothers was going to be the safer play, and I think I'm gonna. I don't know. Maybe there's more to that we didn't know.
Well, and apparently he's banged up too.
Yeah, that's the part. It's. I think it's right now. There's no good option. Is the bad part. Like we need Casey Thompson to get back to health. Is what we need.
Yes, that's it. So my question I had for you here was, other than Casey Thompson coming back, what can Nebraska do to have a pulse on offense for these last 2 games? Because again, my guess is Chuba's out, so now it's Logan Smothers.
They run Smothers. I mean, they didn't really run Smothers on the option. I mean, I guess you know, and this is Mickey. I will say it because Mickey said it. Is like Mickey's talking about Smothers being hurt, which I don't know why you would do. First of all, like I wouldn't talk about Smothers being hurt.
He's a little, I know he's a little loose with it. Like
a little transparent with who's injured and what they're injured.
Yeah, they're like, so what are you seeing from Chuba? Be like, I'll be honest, he's terrible. He's terrible in practice. He's one of those guys. As coaches, we look at him and we go, this guy's terrible. We say to ourselves, can you believe how terrible this guy is? And we have to talk to him. But that's like, I mean, I'm joking.
I'm looking at Smothers throwing shoulder. It's done. He can't throw. So if you want to know if he's going to throw, he's not going to throw it. No, Mickey, don't say that.
I'm going to tell you right now. I was telling Bill this. If I was on defense, I'd blitz us every time because Chuba's not seeing it.
Yeah,
he can't see it. He gets frustrated. But I'm like, geez, Mickey, like
maybe Mickey just does. I mean, I in a weird way, it's like you kind of like it, but I'm always like, no, say less. Say less.
I know. It's like, geez.
He's like refreshingly honest, but every
once in a while you're like, whoa.
It's more than we should. We're not supposed to know this.
I know. I'm like, with too much information.
Yeah.
TMI, okay? Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, the only thing, the answer probably you got to sell out to like running more zone read keepers with Smothers. But if he's banged up, that's a hard proposition. The other hard proposition that you can't necessarily think about is now, I bet the coaches are going, okay, if Smothers gets hurt.
What about Heine?
That's what I mean. I either vote Heine or do we bring in Richard Torres? I mean, I hear all this stuff that Richard Torres, if there's one thing. I mean, Richard!
Dr. Richard Torres!
Dr. Richard
I
Kimball.
didn't kill my wife.
I didn't throw an interception. I don't care.
I don't care.
That doesn't make any. Richard Torres is the quarterback.
The fugitive quarterback.
I didn't do it. It was the one arm man. But I don't know. I mean, that's the other thing, though, about running Smothers is like, who's behind him?
But Harburg can run. I mean, here's the thing is Harburg is, I would say, nowhere ready to play. I mean, he hasn't taken a snap.
Mickey laughed at the idea. Did you hear him? Speaking of Mickey being way too often, Mickey like laughed. Someone asked about like Richard Torres and Mickey basically like, no, those guys aren't.
Well, they're not ready. They're not.
I know,
ready.
but it was like
they're freshmen.
Okay.
So I'm talking about like, okay, we got to find a way to try to win a game.
Right.
Is the best way if Smothers can't run? Is the best way to like have kind of small, frail, not rocket armed Logan Smothers try to like pick people apart from the pocket? Maybe actually that's probably your best bet right now,
I guess.
But I think you got to look at saying, okay, Harburg 6'5" can run. Like, do you at least say we're going to just bring him in and run him, bring him in and chuck the ball around, like
or does the Make-A-Wish Foundation come to Tommy Hill's dorm and say, Tommy, you're not a quarterback. You're just going to run every play. You know how excited Tommy Hill would be?
Tommy Hill would be thrilled.
I got to be honest. Even though, how about his one comeback route? Did you see the one he came in?
Yeah.
I mean, it was clearly like, oh, you haven't ran a route in a real game.
Yeah, and his effort, like it hit his hand, but he was just like,
I mean, what was that?
For a guy that acts like he wants the ball so bad,
it was the worst comeback
route. Go get the ball.
I will say, the only redeeming quality of this season is I love Tommy Hill on every kickoff return. I mean, he brings it when he shouldn't. When Winemaster tells him to not bring it out, it's like a mom telling him he's got to turn off his Super Nintendo. He's like, oh,
and I think because
Sam
McEwen in the paper said Tommy Hill getting angry at his teammate for telling him to stay, which was the right move. Shouldn't bring that one out. Nobody
puts baby in a corner. Nobody tells Tommy Hill to not bring it out of the end zone. That's my philosophy. And honestly, at this point, now he's shown no signs of really ever breaking one. But with this offense, like, I'm not so sure 9 yards deep if you're not better. Your chances of Tommy Hill taking one 109 yards to the house or Nebraska's offense scoring a touchdown.
You know, but the bad part is like, I want us on the 25. I don't want us on the 15. Like, as much as Tommy Hill wants to bring it out from the 9, like, he'll get stopped at the 10, and then we're going to get safeties and stuff. So, like, I mean, I want to lessen the chance of disaster.
I'm all in on Tommy Hill bringing it.
Okay, I'll give you that.
That'd be my only thing. So, yeah, and I mean, so it's hard. Like, other than Casey Thompson coming back, what can Nebraska do to find any offense in his last 2 games? It's looking pretty bleak. By the way, I mean, what is it's a nerve thing for Casey? That's a weird, like...
Yeah, it's probably a nerve that goes, like, his whole hand is... I mean, it's probably just hard to, like, throw the ball in general. So, he's going to, you know... I think the thing with Casey that's interesting, though, is because I was under the assumption he's probably not a pro. Maybe I'm wrong.
I wouldn't think so.
Or if he's got aspirations to like go try pro. If he's got aspirations, and I mean, most people tell him just take a seat. But like, this is it. If this is like pretty much going to be your career, do you maybe say I'm going to go out there and try to play?
I don't know.
Like even with the arm that's a little like say, well, hey, I'm going to go do it because at least, you know, get his mind out there, his command, like that makes a difference for this offense.
I think if he can play, he's gonna play. I think right now it's he can't. I mean, that's my guess is like he just can't do it.
Yeah,
but I don't know. Speaking of Casey, I was thinking about this. Well, do you want to talk about the defense real quick before I get into some other? Sure. I mean, just to give, you know, what do people say? Like, we got to give flowers to them while they're still here. We got to give flowers to the defense while they're still here.
Yeah.
Hard to fault them. You know, they hung in there. We talked about this. Like, you brought up they didn't give up any chunk runs. I think I had it. Blake Corum's longest run from scrimmage was 12 yards.
12 yards.
Stokes, their backup running back's long run was 17 yards. Their longest play from scrimmage was the one touchdown. I think it was Bell, 29 yards.
Was that in the fourth quarter?
And that was like that slip.
And he fumbled out of bounds. I think it's a fumble out of bounds.
And somehow we never got a good, the ball went out of the back of the end zone, didn't it?
Yeah, well, here's the problem is there wasn't a ref there to actually see it.
Right.
So the refs ran from terrible angles from behind the play where they couldn't have seen it, and they all just looked and said, well, I guess we have to call it a touchdown because we couldn't see if it went out of bounds. I thought it went out of bounds.
I thought it clearly went out of bounds. I thought it went out of bounds by 10 inches.
Yeah. And like I said, it doesn't make a difference.
Yeah,
in the
whatever.
game.
I'm just was surprised.
But if you look at that game, it was very similar to Minnesota, where it's like just a lot of plays ran, a lot of runs, and they got too much on the average run, but no big plays.
Right. I mean, that's why it's hard to sit here and go, Michigan ran for 264 yards, 5.4 yards a carry, to sit here and go they did a pretty good job against the run. But I'm sitting here trying to tell you, they did, it wasn't horrible.
I mean, it's basically it was like a touchdown a quarter is what you're going to give up to Michigan.
Zero help from your offense.
Zero help. I mean, it's
sleeting.
Yeah, it's not a winning effort.
No,
but it's not a total losing effort from their side of the ball. That's where I look. You got to look at the game in the whole, and then if you break it up, okay, who did you got to say the defense did a good enough job. If the offense would have been humming, that's a winnable game, like a winnable performance if the offense is humming.
I think there's
but
no
not
question.
A winning performance if our offense is what they are.
And then obviously as well, every time Michigan took a shot downfield, they hung in there. Their long plays from passing were more so a lot of yak than it was a bomb and a guy got beat. So, and that's without Miles Farmer. So what's amazing is, and you brought this up, is the amazing swings within the season of at one point this season, it was tell you what, Nebraska's offense isn't that bad. If only their defense was had any sort of defense. And all of a sudden, and then it'll swing to, boy, Nebraska's defense, they're not that bad. If Nebraska had any offense, it's just, I feel like most teams, I would think who they are is who they are, and they don't have these wild swings of what side of the ball is going to be atrocious today.
Yeah, we flipped, didn't we? We kind of
completely flipped. Think about that. Think about the Georgia Southern game, early in the year, the Georgia Southern game, the Oklahoma game,
we couldn't stop anybody.
Stop anybody, and it was boy, the offense, I tell you, the offense isn't bad.
But this is why coaches get fired. Coaches get fired when this type of thing happens. When you've had two complete reversals in a season where defense sucks, now offense, and you've done that on both sides of the ball, it's
I think I remember talking to, I can't remember, some Big East coach had an interesting, it might have been Jay Wright. I was talking to him at a shoot around, and he was like, one of the things you can always deal with as a coach is when you know what the problem is every game.
Yeah.
He goes, where it becomes almost unsolvable is if it's something different every game. And right now, from a broad sense, it's kind of been, there's something different every game that's kind of popped up to bite them. But I just wanted to the defense, to me, from Illinois to Minnesota to Michigan, the defense, you can't sit there and go man, I tell you, they're stoning them, they're killing, but they did enough to keep their head above water, give the team a shot at winning the game. But when you get no help from the offense, when you go 10 and a half quarters and score one touchdown, I don't care who you got out there, it's not going to happen.
You just can't win 10 quarters, 1 touchdown. You're going to lose. You're going to lose.
You could have the 09 defense out there, and I'm not sure if it goes that much different. I'm serious. I'm not sure these last 3 games go that much different.
I don't think so.
I'm not sure it does. Unless somehow you're getting strip sack, fumble, touchdown, pick sixes. You'd have the defense has to, right. That's what would have to happen here. I was thinking about this. There are 2 turning points with this season. 2 of them. First one, Frost onside kick up 11 in the third quarter at Northwestern in Ireland. That feels like what happened first? Watergate or Frost kicking onside kick?
A long time ago. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Okay, so wait a minute now. Cold War was before or after Frost's onside kick? That's what it feels like. That was so long ago. But that's first turning point. And then the second turning point is the injury to Casey Thompson in the second quarter of the Illinois game. Because
we threw the wheel, we dropped the pass.
It's probably the drop wheel.
Isn't it amazing? The drop pass leads to the
third sack injury. And so the real what if on this season now is, what if Casey Thompson would have been healthy for these last 3 games? Like, let me make it clear. Nebraska was never going to beat Michigan, even with a healthy Casey Thompson, but they could have made it interesting.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
With a healthy Casey Thompson, I think Nebraska absolutely could have beaten Illinois and Minnesota. Not saying they would have, but they absolutely could have.
Yeah, it's funny because you talk about those 2 moments, right? And really, there's a big repercussion to both moments. And the repercussion, one of them is played out. I think Scott Frost got fired.
After that play, it was just an
inevitability. Matter of time.
Yep.
It was a matter of time. I think he had used up all his credit with the fan base, the administration. I think a lot of that it started going down from there. The shot to an injury to Casey, I think that maybe hurts Mickey's chances. I don't know where Trev's at with Mickey. I have zero idea. Mickey could still get this job. There's still a chance. A part of me thinks that game needed to be won. I think he needed to win that game.
I agree.
Even though they didn't beat Purdue. I think Purdue would have really.
You were never going to run the table out. You know what I mean?
3 in a row the story would have been set a little better for Mickey, but beating a ranked team that was the leader in the Big Ten West, I think would have put Mickey on the fast track.
Yeah.
And I think that injury, that play, that injury, then the loss, then another loss, I think it really, whatever momentum, because I think with Mickey, a lot of it was momentum. Because
for sure.
Do you see the way the media talks about him? I mean,
yes.
They talked about media before the media was talking about him before the game.
RG3 and Mark Jones and those guys.
The media's pulling for Mickey.
Yes.
And momentum would have been crazy. If we would have won 3 or 4 of those first, 5 games, man, I think it would have been too much to ignore.
Yeah, it's an interesting thought that I hadn't really considered. Both those turning points, in air quotes, potentially ended Nebraska coaching and ended a Nebraska coaching tenure and potentially eliminated a possible Nebraska coaching tenure. Because the reality is, I don't know what's going to happen with Mickey, but it's really, really hard to hire Mickey if they lose the final. So they lose the final 6 games.
Yeah.
And you go 3 and whatever. It's just hard.
It is.
Not saying it's right or wrong. It's just, man, that's hard.
It gets really hard. It gets hard to sell that because, that's the part where you were talking about if it's Mickey, you got to go now, which would have been.
I thought it was before the Minnesota game, probably.
Yeah, before Minnesota's when you said if you're going to do it, do it.
That's what I thought.
And a part of me thinks that might have been right because I think the longer it goes now, the harder that sell becomes if you're not winning.
Twofold. It's in 2 ways. I think the longer it goes now without naming Mickey, it gets harder to sell. Say you lose out, which at this point, if Casey Thompson doesn't come back, I don't think Wisconsin and Iowa are great, but could Nebraska score on, Creighton Prep's defense at this point, tongue in cheek? But it becomes twofold where you lose out, it gets a hard sell to come to Mickey and to go to Mickey, and then I think it also comes off, whether this is right or wrong. I think if you wait, then at the end of the season hire Mickey, it will feel like, did Nebraska get turned down? Were there a lot of coaches that turned Nebraska down? It'll feel like, now again, Trev will get up there and sell it, but it'll feel like Nebraska settled on Mickey. Because if you were excited about, was my point this whole time. If you believe it is Mickey, what are you waiting for?
If you knew it was Mickey, in the start of November,
this is what I've been saying this whole time. And people have kind of I've talked to Schick. He's like, you got to let the season play out, blah, blah, blah. I'm just saying, you are inviting storylines, narratives, those things. If you believed it was Mickey, you should have named, the moment you knew it was Mickey, you should have named Mickey.
Yeah.
It would have helped everything. It helps recruiting. It helps all this stuff. Like, it helps everything. People would have, like, let's say you would have named Mickey before the Minnesota game and everything to this point is playing out that way. I don't think people are like, horrible decision to make a look at these games. Everybody understands this situation for Mickey, but it's just the longer you let it play out, the harder it is, I think, to ultimately have it go to Mickey. That's just me. But the other thing I was thinking about too, along those lines with Casey Thompson. Remember the midseason MVP award we handed out?
Trey Palmer.
We handed the midseason MVP to Trey Palmer, but we also acknowledged with the caveat and we prefaced everything with like, we understand that in almost any scenario, the MVP is always the quarterback. Well, we are finding out that Casey Thompson is without question this team's MVP because this offense literally cannot do a thing without that guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've been pretty spot on throughout the season of recognizing like Casey's he's doing really well with under the circumstances with line issues. Yep. He's done a dang good job this year under the circumstances. And I think some people may not have been as obvious, but I think you have to see them without him to know just how much better he makes the rest of the team and how much better he is than the guys behind him. I mean, It's not even close.
Right.
It's not even close.
So the Ghost of Christmas Future, Christmas Past, like you get to see your life, like with all like alternate realities. We got to see the Bob Devaney ghost of like life without Casey Thompson. We're seeing it, and it's terrifying.
It's horrible. We're living. That's our nightmare, basically.
This is what's happening right now. But yeah, so because what's amazing is like you took like with Casey, Trey Palmer was like in the conversation with like one of the best receivers in the country. Statistically, he was putting up, he put up I've never seen a better individual game from a wide receiver than that game. Yeah. But all of a sudden, without Casey, Trey Palmer's dropping passes. He can't, obviously he doesn't have the guy to be able to hit him on the deep ball, and that's what he does best. But like Trey Palmer went from like a dude to a non-factor.
Yeah.
It's really, really remarkable to think about that. I will say, and we're kind of getting into it, like of all the Nebraska blowouts and stinkers that we've seen over the years, and we've seen a handful of them, that game might have been the least compelling from the standpoint of like, at least these other blowouts, you still had the bigger picture to think about and discuss. Like with this situation right now, this is where I'm at. Again, I may be being too honest today. Like to me, this version of the Nebraska football program is about to end. So it gets to where it's almost as if there's a store that's going out of business and it's closing on Friday. Are you really going to trip about some employee or some shift on Wednesday night not going well? It's like fucking closing the doors and shutting down on Friday. So why are you like, no, Bill, you're supposed to go to the register first, type in the code that like it almost, that's where this game was to me. It wasn't just that it was the blowout. It's like, I don't even know what the angle is right now. Because I personally don't think, this is just me. I don't think it's going to be Mickey. I just think enough is happening to where it's going to make it hard for it to be Mickey. I'm not saying it won't be, because that's the only sellable, thing right now.
Well, a part of what you're saying, though, is I think Mickey, part of the interview was just what you're saying. Like, you got to bring life into this. You got to keep this thing interesting, and you got to keep people believing through the rest of this year. Because, if you know what I mean?
For sure.
I get, the whole recruiting side of it. You need to be able to bring in dudes, and
right,
he can potentially do that. And that's still his biggest selling point is, I can go get the guys, right? I can go do that. But I think the problem is some of the excitement of Mickey is waned a little bit now that he's the coach and we're still not winning.
And it feels like all of a sudden, Mickey's not going to.
Is this just an extension of, I guess that's not fair because, Mickey's only been here for a year.
For sure.
It's not fair. It's totally not
This
fair.
Isn't his program, his culture, his guys. This isn't.
The reality is they asked him to take a tough position, and this is your quote unquote interview because you've never been a head coach before. So I think that's what's hard with Mickey. He's like, he's never had the other, like, hey, he was the head coach at Louisiana Tech.
Yeah, you got no reference
he had some
point.
good years
Yeah.
and blah, blah, blah. Like, he's proven he can do that. Like, he doesn't have that. So it's like, this is what we're basing some of his, like, should we hire Mickey or not? And there's been some good, but like a lot of it's been kind of like, but we're still not doing great, right?
You know, it is amazing. As you were talking, I was thinking like Mickey, I gotta take my cap off to Mickey, even if he doesn't get named the head coach for moving forward. Mickey has made this season interesting, kept people interested in it.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
though. I thought you were saying you're not interested anymore.
That's what I'm saying. Like the fallout from this game is that where, because I'm not fully shutting the book on Mickey, but man, that book is about as close to being shut as possible. And what you realize is all of a sudden, without the big picture discussion of can Mickey win the job, you find out when that is potentially removed, this is not very compelling.
But that's where I guess maybe that Mickey still, maybe that's part of still why they don't announce it.
That could be, but that seems kind of like, but to me that doesn't go away, because then you like, he's the guy, then you get like to really start to like watch him through a different lens and all that stuff. But I see what you're saying. But for me, that's where I go back to this point. You came over the day after Frost was fired. We recorded 2 pods. We watched Trev Albert's press conference at the time. And I think I said to you before we turned on the mics, I was like, man, this season just got dramatically less interesting to me.
Yeah.
And what I failed to realize was Mickey's presence and Mickey Joseph's ability to become a viable candidate, and how much that, let's be honest, that has been the hook.
It's true, yeah.
And all of a sudden, when that is waning, that's why I started with today. It's like if we're not talking about the big picture of this thing of Mickey potentially continuing to be the guy, does it really make sense to be like, boy, I tell you, Ty Robinson's just got to do it, and boy, I tell you, offensively, you got to be able to, like, it all feels like, well, the store closing on Friday and you're going out of business. Like this program's going to be completely different.
Yeah, that's what's so hard. I think it's maybe the right thing is, though, it's like, are people just like at this point now antsy to get on to the next part?
I think, yes. I think people are like, let's be honest, right now, I'm not sure this, again, apparently I'm just like, took a, like, Jim Carrey, liar, liar, the little boy was like, I wish Nick wouldn't tell a lie.
Yeah.
And but like, if I could just, like, if life was, what's the movie Click with Sandler where you can fast forward through things? Like, this is not popular to say. If I could fast forward through Wisconsin and Iowa and just get to
August 28th next year, and be like, can we?
Well, I'm talking about the Monday after Black Friday to see who True's going to be the head coach.
Yeah.
Like, are you really, be honest? Let me. I wish Bo couldn't tell a lie. Are you really?
I've had better.
That's because they like your jug. What did he say to the girl? It was great. Everybody's so nice to me.
Because you got big jugs.
That's great. But, okay, I just liared you. Are you really excited about the Wisconsin and Iowa game?
Am I excited about Wisconsin?
Are you excited for the games?
I mean,
if I gave you a choice right now, you have the life remote control. You can fast forward through the Wisconsin and Iowa game and get to the hiring.
Now we're going into deep philosophical thinking here. And I can see where the most people would say I want to fast forward.
Sandler regretted it.
I know. You will always regret the fast forward. So as much as that's probably, I understand like how not exciting these last 2 games are, but at the same time, like I always enjoy watching every week. I enjoy watching the game, but yeah, I'm not like excited because there's no chance for a bowl game. There's no chance. I mean,
and especially if Casey doesn't come back, it's like,
if
I
Casey
can't watch
comes
this
back,
offense anymore.
It will be at least fun to see if we can beat Wisconsin, Iowa. But yeah, I mean, Nick, do I want to? If they said, okay, we're going to announce the coach. Like, that's all I really want to know. Who's the damn coach?
Who's going to be the coach moving forward?
Because that's really what we want to know.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean.
But what is hard, this is what's been so frustrating about everything in general is like, we love Nebraska football so much. We wait for it all year. It is so ingrained in our hearts, our minds, our souls, our culture, our nostalgia, our everything. And you are only guaranteed 12 of these things.
Yeah.
We get 12 of them. And here I am after the 10th. I'm like,
but it's,
wrap it up. Let's get to the end of the year and let's hire a new coach.
To be fair to you, that offense was bad.
Oh, I can't watch this offense anymore.
That offense, when you got Casey Thompson, they can stall out for a handful of series. They can do that too.
Yes.
But then they hit some shots. Like, then they fire up fast, and it's like, whoa. Right. It's like we're like real good or real bad. This was the first example of like, it's just mostly real bad.
Yes.
And it's hard to watch 4 quarters of this is really bad.
With it's hard to even conjure up in your mind, like, well, if they...
And it's actually funner to watch if your offense is really good and your defense fluctuates between good and bad. At least it's like you're scoring points, you're making plays, and then an offense, like it's when you don't have a chance to score. You don't feel like there's a chance to win a game. Where, like, at least if your offense is scoring, you feel like, well, we have a chance to win this game.
Right. What's amazing is as you watch, though, I could argue, in fact, I'll pose it to you. Trey Palmer, Anthony Grant, Travis Vokalek, that combination is the best wide receiver, running back, tight end combination since, like, Amir, Kenny Bell, and whoever that would have, like...
Jack Stoll? No, Amir, Kenny Bell, and
who would have been the tight end for those years?
Oh, what was it? Number 11? What was his name?
It's not Austin Allen, was it?
No, 11. This was, gosh.
Well, I'm just really trying to. I guess this is what's so perplexing.
Zigbo Morgan, and that's Jack Stoll. So Zigbo Morgan, Jack Stoll. And then before that was Kenny Bell, Amir, and
we gotta find.
Is that 2014?
So I'm on 2013. Who would have been the tight end that year? Let's see if hopefully a tight end caught a pass in this. Kenny Bell, Jamal Turner, Quincy Nunwood, Jake Long. Nope, no one tight end caught a pass that. Anyways, I'm
gonna find it.
But I think you get my point. My point is what's odd about this is you actually have pretty freaking good
Sethan Carter.
Sethan Carter. There you go. Everybody thought Sethan Carter was like, but hey, this is just me.
Hall of Fame.
Gronk. Gonzalez. Sethan Carter. That's where it goes.
God.
But isn't it odd where this offense, like, it has a really good deep threat wide receiver, a pretty dang good running back, a pretty good tight end, and yet it is like
quarterback's pretty good too. Like that's where
it's odd. It's a really odd.
Is our line and our offensive philosophy made it to where we just like those two combinations lead us to we can't win games.
Yep. Which is tough. But I was okay because this is what I wrote down.
Sucks because those guys are too good for us not to be better.
If I was doing like slam poetry, that was there.
Oh my God.
That's what it's called. Isn't it called slam poetry?
It's the worst. I don't know why.
You're not built.
I am the antithesis of slam
I was
poetry.
dying at. I think it was.
I just can't. It's like.
Have you ever seen 22 Jump Street? I think it's 22 Jump Street. Jonah Hill.
Yeah.
So up there and does terrible slam poetry. It's so good.
Oh yeah. What have you got for me, Nick? Oh my God. I don't put my hands in my face.
No, you have to look at me while I do it.
I don't want to do it. Okay.
So this is about Nebraska football in the last 5 years, okay?
Oh my gosh.
This maybe doesn't work, but are you ready? Nick Boss slam poetry, take one. Wasted a good defense last year. Wasted Adrian Martinez. Wasted Wan'Dale Robinson. Wasted pretty dang good skill guys this year, Palmer, Grant, Vokalek. And wasted an opportunity with the Big Ten way down and the West down. Wasted. Is that how it goes? Is that how slam poetry goes?
I just think of Mike Myers in So I Married an Axe-Murderer. He's like, dun, dun.
Yeah. That's maybe what I'm going for.
Dun, dun, dun.
Is that kind of the cadence of?
Yeah. Oh,
That's the cadence of slam poetry, right? Like boom, 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 boom. That's what I had in mind. But do you see? Okay, do you understand? Wasted a good defense last year, wasted Adrian Martinez, wasted Wan'Dale Robinson, wasting pretty good skill players this year. And then the thing I really wanted to talk to you about is really wasting an opportunity on I think the Big Ten is like, I typically have a lot of respect for Iowa and Wisconsin and a lot of the Big Ten.
Yeah.
I think the league's not very good this year. Especially the Big Ten West.
Yeah.
Like, everybody, here's the problem, and you hear it all the time. Like, everybody falls into this trap of getting caught in their own league bubble and be like, man, I tell you, our conference is brutal, man. Stop it. Okay? You watch, you see, Minnesota, Purdue, Illinois, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Northwestern are not very good this year. It is not surprising at all that Illinois has lost 2 straight games. When I watch that team play, I'm like, this is a top 15, top 20 team? No fucking way are they a top 15 or 20 team.
Yeah, I think it's hard. I don't watch enough ACC and SEC football. I mean, I watch some SEC, like I watched Ole Miss, Alabama last night, and like they look a lot better than us. But I guess I don't know. I'd love to see like what Illinois looks like compared to like middle of the road SEC.
And maybe this is a window into I don't think Nebraska's very good. And so to me, I'm like, Nebraska's not very good and a mess given everything that's going on, and they almost are beating you.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's just, wasted an opportunity.
It's like, now it's all coming back to me. He goes, Harry it. Hard-headed harbinger of Huskers. It's like, but that's what he always, it's always like, Harriet. Yes. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun.
I didn't do that right. Yeah, because you're supposed to do a play on like the word.
He goes,
you know
like,
what I mean?
Woman. Whoa, man. She was a thief. You got to believe. She stole my heart and my cat. It's like, it is just, that was fantastic, though.
That was the cadence,
I'm
right?
not much for slam poetry.
Did you like Nick Bahe's slam poetry?
Nick Bahe slam poetry. It made me like I couldn't almost look at you when you did it.
You were embarrassed to look at me.
I was embarrassed, but you always pull it out.
I was just thinking about that. I just look at the Big Ten. I don't think Ohio State and Michigan are as good as they've been.
I mean, Nick,
I don't think Michigan is as good as they were last year.
Because here's the thing: Michigan went to the national championship game last year, and we had them beat.
Yes.
So I don't. That's
but I thought last year's team. You and I were like last year's team, pretty like.
But we were 3-9.
I know, but details.
What
don't get caught up in the details.
I know, but the world doesn't make sense to me for those reasons.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Like if we're so far away, how are we that close to beating Michigan and Ohio State? That's where I just don't think I understand. That's what I still don't understand about where Nebraska's at. I mean, I feel like we're a lot worse than last year, but still, like, some of these guys all played in that game. Like, to be that far away. Like, to me, where we were this year was like, you were saying they were playing with their food. And last year, we had them beat in the fourth quarter. Right. All we had to do was not be stupid. And, I mean, they had Ohio State on the ropes at home. I just think, like, Snacks, O'Doyle, JoJo, Cam Taylor-Britt, Deontay Williams, Austin Allen, Adrian Martinez, like those guys were all, like, I think last year's team would beat the fuck out of this year's team right now. I think that's probably right. The defense was better, but the offense. See, that's the problem. Is like, are we talking about the offense with Casey Thompson? Or are we talking about the offense with Chubba Purdy and Logan Smothers? Yeah, I mean, that's...
Because the offense with Logan Smothers and Chubba Purdy, it's like, I mean, I got to, like, does Jim Leonard walk into his coaches meeting this week? God, I'm being a snarky asshole. I'm sorry. Does Jim Leonard walk into his coaches meeting this week and be like, boys, what do you think? How many points wins the game this week? I don't know, 6?
Yeah.
Like, I'm being that snarky media asshole. Can we get
asshole. 10 points?
But
if honestly, they get 10 points, I think they're favored by 3.
Like, 3 or 4. How many points? If you spotted Wisconsin if it's a 4, spot them 13 points, like it's an insurmountable. It's insurmountable.
They're a 5 to 6 point favorite. Like, if you spot them 14. And that's not being a jerk. That's just being like, what do you really think? I think that's probably right.
All right. I feel like I've been a jerk today. Have I been a jerk today?
Nick, you did slam poetry.
I did slam poetry.
That means you've done it all today.
Okay.
But that was great.
Okay. These last 2 games, are they only winnable if Casey Thompson comes back?
Yes.
Agree. I'm nervous about this game too from the standpoint of it feels like Wisconsin, and I'm probably stepping on like Wednesday's spot here a little bit, but like Wisconsin feels like they maybe have more to play for. Like they got to win one more game to get to a bowl game. I also feel like Jim Leonard is probably going to be their coach too moving forward. It just feels like they maybe got a little bit more oomph in it. Meanwhile, Nebraska can't get to a bowl game, and we've talked about Mickey's chances. While they're not completely gone, they feel like it's dwindled from a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I wish I knew really what Casey's like. It's hard to get a read on what's going on with him.
Yeah, we need him to.
Oh, the other thing we didn't talk about is Whipple getting hurt.
Oh yeah.
I mean, well, first of all, Mark Jones and RG3 were initially acting like it was like his head. It was always clearly his knee. Someone needed to we needed like a Secret Service on Whip, and like someone needed to step in and take one for, like Kevin Costner in The Bodyguard.
Yeah, dive in there.
Dive in there, and then Whip could sing "I Have Nothing" or "I Will Always Love You."
You did slam poetry. I mean, hold on.
Wasted.
Hey, Ted.
Hey, Ted. TED Talk on my offense. TikTok. No, I don't know what it means. No, but Whip. Okay, but they can put Whip in the booth, right? They could like Whip. At one point, they like just plopped him on like I feel like they're like, what play you want? He's like, I don't care. I don't even care anymore. Get me a beer and get out of my face. He was not happy.
Oh no! I mean,
I will say when you get older, like dealing with like injuries, like you don't got time. I don't got.
Dude, if you blew an ACL and you're 65, you're so pissed off because you know what that means. When you're young, you're like, oh dang. When
right.
you're old, you're like, that's 3 years of rehab and pain. And the older you get, the more that is just debilitating. So
well, for me,
I feel bad.
Because even for me, sometimes when I think about like why I don't necessarily have any desire to go play like pickup basketball anymore, it's because of the chance of a legitimate serious injury. Like I got kids and a job. I don't got time for that. Like when you're like 20, you break your leg, you tear your knee. It's like, oh crap. I mean, you broke your arm 3 times?
Yeah.
Hey, it's like right now breaking your arm. You're like, you have a torn labrum and you've put it off for how long?
3 or 4 years now.
I had a hernia for like a decade, and I was like, my wife, I was like, you enough.
Yeah, I mean, there comes a point where you got to do it. Like, right. But like the thought of, could I go another year without surgery? You go, I'll take it every time. Like, yes. You just don't like until you have to do it. You have to do it.
So but first of all, it's gonna be like, is Whip gonna be in the training room with like the guys? They're gonna be like in the cold tub together. Like,
yeah, I mean, but now
him and Tommy Hill. Tommy's gonna be like, I'm telling you, I'm
just
your guy.
Let me have
you need
ball.
a touchdown. I'm your guy.
If you don't let me have it, I'm gonna be so mad.
Well, did you see? Did you watch the game on TV? Well, obviously you didn't go to Ann Arbor and watch it, but at one point there was a great little moment. Tommy Hill was walking with Mickey Joseph on the sidelines, and Tommy was at one point he was explaining something really demonstratively to Mickey, and at one point he started listing reasons. Tommy put out one, so like if people this doesn't play well in the pod, but he put out one finger, like 1, 2, 3, and Mickey kind of was giving that like the I know, like but Tommy it gave him at one point whatever he was saying had, and here's why. Number 1,
I'm the fastest. Number 2.
I'm the man. Number 3.
What do we have to lose? Number 3. Show me the money. Number 4.
But no, I just want Tommy Hill. If I'm Tommy, I'm trying to find when Whip gets in the cold tub and Tommy's gonna be like, hey, hey, hey. Whip man, what up, boy?
You icing here too?
Okay. Well, matter of fact, since we're gonna be in here for a little bit, number 1, you see the speed. Number 2. What they gonna do with number 2? Because that's my number. Not sure if you know that, Whip. And number 3, police. Okay, like
dream of stopping me.
Oh, that's what I just want. I want Whip and Tommy Hill in a cold tub together, and Whip's just like, oh, God.
I don't know Tommy Hill, but like
he's my favorite player on the team at this point.
He obviously seems like he's the guy that he wants to rock.
Oh, he wants it so bad. He was so mad at Jacob. I think his wine master told me couldn't come out. But they can put Mickey in the booth, right? It's not like kind of
Whip, yeah,
Whip in the booth.
They'll put Whip in the booth. I mean, he can't stand, so,
right?
Yeah.
But so it's not like it has to be. This is a disaster, you know.
Yeah, I think
I don't know what. I wonder what happened.
All I bet is he's got to have something done.
Oh man, I mean, not good, not good at all. It's ridiculous.
This is what happens when Nebraska doesn't play good. We do slam poetry. Nebraska, this is a message to you. Play better, or there'll be more of this. I can see Nick's getting into it. I can tell that he enjoyed himself.
I did enjoy my slam poetry too much.
And he's going to start working on it more. Every time we play bad, that's our punishment.
I have to have a slam poetry poem
Nick
for
slam poetry every time we play that bad.
Okay, Jiminy Christmas. Can I give a shout out? We got a shout out, so we got to give someone else a shout out.
Oh,
our man Luke Gifford.
Oh yeah,
Luke Gifford tweeted my link to our game recap against Minnesota. Luke Gifford tweeted, "Look forward to the pod every week. About the only guys I can listen to talk about Nebraska football right now." Crying face emoji. Husker fans, if you aren't tuning in, you should be. So, Luke, shouts out to you.
Good stuff.
And shouts out to Isaac too.
Yeah, been playing really a lot better.
I love me some Luke Gifford.
Really
hey,
playing well right now.
Also, 2 things. I mean, as we're just all over the place. Ernest Hausman had a game. 10 tackles, led the team, 8 solo, 1 sack, 1 TFL.
Yeah.
And then
Ernest has got a bright future. He's like 18 years old.
Yeah, Ernie.
Dude, do you know how hard it is to be that, like what he's doing right now at 18?
At Michigan in the big house in the snow. And it like, oh.
But see, that's also, for me, that's a telling sign. Like, you get with the biggest and the best dudes.
What happens?
And that doesn't, he played his best game. Like he stuck Corum a couple times, and he made a nice little sack there. And I go, okay, that's the sign of like, yeah, he can do it. Yeah. Like he can take a leap and be like a really good player potentially.
Yes.
So Ernest Hausman, like, he's one that, like, just keep your eye on the next couple of years.
I'd make sure I give him a shout out. And out of nowhere, Gabe Irvin showed up.
I still think Gabe Irvin needs to see the ball.
We're still Saul Goodman defending him. We're his public defenders, and we are
okay. Interesting. Now we've talked about Isaac Gifford, who I think has started to emerge as like a solid player.
Oh hell yeah!
With Ernest Hausman, who are guys on this? Let's start with the defense, like that in the future are going to be like guys. Do you think?
Well, I mean, it depends on what age. I mean, because like
I'm thinking the younger guys,
the younger dudes. I mean, Hartzog.
I think Hartzog's a potential guy.
Like that's a guy I'd be like, yeah, you're on the team.
Yeah, and I'd say
other young.
We're losing Nelson. We're losing Tanner. O'Shawn Mathis is probably. I mean,
I thought he was a 1 year guy, or is he a 2 year dude?
Yeah, I think he could do 2, but he might be gone because I don't think he's had like a great year.
If he would have had a great year, my song "Mathis Got Sacks" would have won a Grammy, but it's not even going to get nominated.
Maybe you can save for next year if he says.
Maybe I'll just run it back, repeat it again. No, other young cats on the defensive side. I mean, because like Henrich is going to be a junior.
Henrich is going to come back from that knee.
Reimer's going to be a senior.
So I mean, Reimer's still good.
But like, how old's Buford?
Buford's a
Benjamin Buford Blue,
AKA
Bubba.
At least, I think he's a redshirt sophomore. I think this is his 3rd year.
Okay.
Or maybe this is his 2nd year.
I don't feel like I remember seeing him prior to this year, but he's a sophomore.
So, true sophomore. Okay, so Buford's got some room to grow, and then there's some of those guys that I think that we liked a lot. There were freshmen in the secondary that we'll see. You know, I haven't seen him play, so too early to say. But yeah, and then it's like, you know, then what happens with Ty Robinson? Because he's not going pro, right?
No,
he's coming back another year. Yeah. So I mean, Robinson's a guy that I don't know. I was expecting big things out of him this year. He's started to play a little bit better, but still, I haven't seen kind of what I thought he was going to be.
Even started to go to the other side of the ball too. I think after the Purdue game, I thought Trey Palmer was for sure out of here.
Yeah.
No, it'll probably depend on what coach gets the job and if Mickey's around, because it sounds like Mickey and him are going to like go get a 2-bedroom apartment wherever they go.
Yeah.
But Trey Palmer now becomes a guy that I think could come back.
I think Trey Palmer could come back and make a lot of money in Nebraska next year. So,
yes.
I mean, for one, I think he probably made decent money coming here, probably, right? Yeah. But like, I think he's a guy that, with what he did, and if Mickey stays, I mean, I think it's a no-brainer for him to come back. And that, like, this is where keeping Mickey so important, because if Mickey stays and Trey stays, then you bring another quarterback in, or if one of these younger guys is going to be more ready. But like,
right,
just like to know you got Trey Palmer to throw to is enticing.
You found out that like just having Trey Palmer on your team and a quarterback that can get him the ball, like he can single-handedly keep you in games.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Look at us. We ended on a positive. We kind of ended on a positive note.
Yeah. I mean, well, let's say, okay, a couple of young offensive guys to be coming back. Teddy Pino-Ass will be
Teddy Pino-Ass at some point is going to learn how to Pino-Ass down. I mean, you got Torres, you got Heine.
Sounds like Torres is the one that they really...
his homeboy's got like a cannon, apparently.
He's got the number one cannon of
at some point, Fedoni. At some point, Fedoni is going to be on the field.
Fedoni, we'd love to see. I mean, hopefully...
The wide receiver core is pretty old. Alante Brown that was quite the decision to go airborne and he got rocket shipped. There's getting racked, and he got rocket shipped.
I feel like RG3 just was like, what has he got down there, steel? And I just went, can you say that?
Everything, I will say, RG3, for a guy that if I'm not mistaken, this is his first year calling games, he is unbelievably comfortable.
That's the biggest takeaway. I go, I don't know if he's really good or really bad, but he was kind of entertaining.
Here's the thing. Yes, I will say, from an analyst perspective, I didn't think he ever said anything analytically that was very overly insightful, but he was entertaining throughout the game.
It. I was surprised, because usually it's the other way around. If you can't
guys got no. They're like, that was a cover two, and you're supposed to take.
And they're stiff and they're not entertaining.
Right.
He was like not analytical but entertaining. So like I was like, I don't know if this is good or bad, but I'm entertained.
And
he's wearing the hat.
Mark Jones too was like, he was like Trevor, Hillary's boyfriend.
He's like, I tell you,
I'm here with Robert Griffin III. Quite the drip you have on that.
Yeah.
Excellent drip, Robert.
Robert, can you teach me how to Dougie? It was great. It was kind of great though.
I'm not gonna lie. Outside of my guys Gus and Joel, who I just love to death, I don't know. Mark Jones, RG3, I really enjoyed him.
I thought they were pretty entertaining.
Can we also say the Aflac trivia question for that game was like,
I think they were like, that question for every other university might have been okay. For Nebraska Michigan fans, it's like, we know our national championship years, you know.
It's like,
for RG3 didn't know. He's like, what happened 997?
997.
He's like, I was 7, so.
Oh, man.
And
was that the year everybody went to first grade? They're like, no, Robert, no.
But you could tell it was posed for people that are not Nebraska and Michigan fans.
I was offended by that question.
Nebraska and Michigan fans should be offended, because that's like saying like,
I don't even know. Like, that's like asking.
It's like, what happened in the years 1991 through 1993 in Chicago for the Bulls? You're like,
this guy was the leading scorer in the 1993 season for the Bulls. You're like,
who could it? I mean, it's like, that's a dumb question.
Because I'd have to imagine, sure, you're getting some casual fans, but I don't know, 80% of your audience are Michigan and Nebraska fans. It's like,
There is not a Michigan Nebraska fan that wouldn't
have known that question.
I mean, really.
I mean, it's like, geez, you know what that struck me as is they're like, all right, 2 minutes to kick off, and someone's like, ooh, Affleck trivia. Hey, Dan, did you do it? I thought you did it, Dan. Dog, we got to. Yes. 1997. Oh, they split the title. Yeah. 1997. Why is 1997 significant to these two programs? Cool. All right, cool. Send it in. I mean, if I'm Affleck, if I'm the Duck, I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh, Nick. If I'm the Duck, your brain, Nick.
I think
only you think from the point of view, if I'm the Affleck Duck, your brain went to there. If I'm the Affleck Duck, I'm thinking, no, only you think that.
Okay, I knew. I'm glad I remember that because I wrote it down on my phone. I was like, we got to talk about that horrible trivia question. The Affleck Duck called. I called ESPN and was very upset. I don't spend that kind of sponsorship money for a stupid question like that.
Obvious.
Okay, we need to end it because this is getting out of control. Okay, well, 34-3 Nebraska loses Wisconsin this week. We'll have a midweek pod. We'll figure out something. Let's go get in. Hey, Tommy Hill and Whipper in the cold tub. Let's go get in there with him.
Same spot for me.
Let's go.